auto-plagiarism, the self-stealer. And this is a major difference between copyright. This is a major difference. You can see my slides, right?
Sir, it's visible, sir.
Okay.
Your slide is visible, sir.
The last I was mentioning was auto-plagiarism. I said this is a major difference between copyright and plagiarism, because if I am using my own earlier work, I am not violating my copyright. But if I am using my own earlier work, I am a self-stealer. This is a case of auto-plagiarism. We'll talk about these maybe in the next slides. The next category is when you are citing the source, but it is still called plagiarism. For example, incomplete citation. You are not mentioning the full citation because you don't want the reader to read the original source. Same is the case with inaccurate citation. The third one is pretentious citation. Now, this pretentious citation means I have taken the extract from somebody's work, I have acknowledged it in the footnote, but I have not put the content within quotes. Try to understand. If I have taken a full paragraph from your work, I have footnoted it, but I have not put the content within quotes. What do I mean to convey? I am trying to convey that yes, I have borrowed things from this source, but the paragraph which is written is not the word by word copying of the original text. The quotes are missing. So when the quotes are missing, it means that I am not reproducing it. The idea may have been borrowed, which I have footnoted, but the language belongs to me. So it is a case of pretentious citation and plagiarism. Then you have misleading citation, which takes you to wrong sources. Partial citation again will take you to wrong sources. So these are the forms of plagiarism, the kinds of plagiarism broadly categorized into plagiarism when sources are cited, and the second category is plagiarism when sources are not cited. So we have understood what is the meaning of plagiarism: taking somebody's ideas, somebody's work, and pretending it to be your own. We understand why it is rampant these days, why people plagiarize. We have understood what are the kinds of plagiarism. Now let's try and see the difference between the two concepts of copyright and plagiarism. We often confuse between the two concepts, because I said I'll be focusing on copyright for literary work. Copyright in articles, books, chapters, theses, dissertation. So copyright in literary work is infringed if it is used by somebody without permission. So unauthorized use of somebody's work amounts to copyright. It may also amount to plagiarism. The two concepts are very close to each other because both relate to original work of creativity. Both relate to authorship. Authorship is heard if copyright is violated. Authorship is heard if somebody plagiarizes my work. Both relate to authorship. Both mean free riding. Both mean misappropriation. Copyright and plagiarism both mean infringement. So when you are violating copyright, you are misappropriating somebody's work. When you are plagiarizing, you are misappropriating somebody's work. Till 2018, when this UGC regulation came, prior to that, plagiarism was governed mostly by policies, considering it to be ethical wrong. Now there is set of regulations in place. UGC regulation 2018, whereas copyright is governed by legal rules. And as I said, there may be cases which amount to violation of copyright as well as plagiarism. But I also said that there may be cases which amount to plagiarism but not copyright violation. Let's see what are these cases. The first point is both relate to original works. I have already said that most of the works which we create are derivative in nature. These works are derived from other works. There is nothing wrong in creating derivative works because we are not concerned about new works. Novelty is difficult to achieve. You will definitely be inspired by somebody's work. You will definitely be taking extracts from somebody's work, plots from somebody's works. So all these works are derivative in nature. I have also said that copyright law is concerned with originality of expression, mind. Copyright law is not concerned with ideas. If you go back to the definition, plagiarism means taking somebody's work or idea and pretending it to be your own. Copyright will not touch idea, but plagiarism also includes idea. Therefore, ideas are not protected under copyright law. You can borrow others' ideas without getting into liability of copyright infringement. There is no violation of copyright, but taking idea amounts to plagiarism. You understand? So this is a case which does not amount to copyright violation, but which amounts to plagiarism. Similarly, in case of database, I have already explained the meaning of this term database. Database is collection of data, discrete data. I will not own the data. I will not own the facts. Data and facts are their nature. I will only own protection on the manner in which I have arranged the data. There is a scientist, suppose, who spends years in his laboratory, generates data. He swings the pendulum, measures the time period, writes the time period, and so on. He generates the data, prepares a database of all the data, and claims protection on his database. Copyright law will only protect the manner in which data has been arranged. Copyright law will not protect the content, the data, the facts, the ideas. So if I take data from that database, I am not violating copyright. But taking facts, taking data which belong to other may still amount to plagiarism. You understand? So these are the cases where copying does not violate copyright, but copying means plagiarism. So therefore, I am free to take your ideas. I am free to take your data. I am free to take your story, theme, plot. I am not violating your copyright. But copying all these would mean plagiarism. And it is easy to say that copyright has nothing to do with idea, it concerns with expression, but separating idea from expression in a given work is not that simple a job. It's always a difficult task to separate the idea from expression. So whenever there is a case of infringement of copyright, the first exercise which courts will do is to see whether what has been copied is idea or whether it is expression. It's a difficult task. This task may be called as task of abstraction. Let's not go in detail. So we saw that copying idea amounts to plagiarism, does not amount to copyright violation. Copying data amounts to plagiarism, does not amount to copyright violation. The second point relates to authorship. The person who creates the work is the author of the work. The person who creates the work means the person who creates the language of that work. And if there are many people who are together creating the language, it is a work of joint authorship. So all the people who are contributing originality towards the language of the work are joint authors. So anybody who is contributing idea cannot be a joint author in copyright law. You must have discussed this point probably in the morning session if it was on copyright. So if I'm contributing idea only, I cannot be a joint author of copyright. I can be a joint author only I am contributing towards originality of the language which is used. But in the under the principles of plagiarism, the person who contributes expression as well as a person who contributes ideas, both are authors. So therefore, an action may be initiated only by a person who is the contributor of expression under copyright law, whereas a complaint may be filed by both contributor of expression as well as contributor of idea under the principles of plagiarism. So the conclusion of this point is that I can copy ideas, plots without getting into the liability of copyright law, but it is still a case of plagiarism. Second, the person who is contributing idea, facts, data, etc. in the work may not claim copyright protection, but he can still claim remedies in case of plagiarism. I hope the point is clear. Under copyright law, the owner has to invoke the provisions of the Act if he wants remedies. I think I have some 15 minutes left. Let me wrap up quickly. Under copyright law, owner has to initiate the proceedings. Under copyright law, author cannot claim remedies. Now, again, this is a complete topic in itself. Who is an author? Who is an owner? What is the difference? Let us take this statement that in most of the cases, author is the owner. But yes, somebody has to start the proceedings. Under copyright law, somebody has to start proceedings. Whereas in plagiarism, the wrongdoer will face consequences irrespective of any complaint filed by the author of the work. So if I have copied your work, even if you have not filed a complaint with my university, if the university comes to know about plagiarism, the university will start the proceedings against me. Whereas in case of copyright law, the proceedings have to be started by the owner of copyright himself. And in most of the cases, as I said, author is the first owner. And if owner does not start the proceedings, there is nobody else who will start the proceedings. So that is another difference between the two. We already know that copying text, copying ideas mean plagiarism. Whereas copying text, that too substantially means copyright infringement. What I'm trying to highlight in this slide is that under plagiarism law, the regulation of 2018 of UGC, you have different consequences for different degree of copying. If you have copied 10%, then the consequences are different. If the copying is 30%, consequences are different, and so on. So you have different consequences for different degree or different extent of copying. Whereas in copyright law, we do not have different consequences for different degree of copying. If infringement is proved, even if it is a small infringement, if infringement is proved, then the consequences are mentioned in section 55. So you don't have different consequences for different degree of copying. That's another difference between these two. In the initial slides, I said copyright law confers two kinds of rights: economic rights and moral rights. I'll come to the questions later on. Yes, economic
Voice is
rights
not
and moral
audible,
rights.
sir.
Okay. Is it fine now?
Yes,
Is
sir.
it
Yes,
okay?
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's
I
okay
said,
now.
okay. Copyright gives two kinds of rights, economic rights and moral rights. Economic rights will expire after a certain period of time, lifetime plus 60 years. Different हो सकता है, but there is certain time period for which you get economic rights. Economic rights include right to make copies, right to distribute, right to broadcast, etc. The second set of rights is called moral rights. Moral rights are perpetual in nature. Moral rights will not terminate with copyright. Mind. Economic rights are lifetime plus 6 years, फिर economic rights खत्म. Perpetual. These are given for all times to come, to be enjoyed by legal representatives. So therefore, you have to be careful. You cannot say that now the work has come to public domain, I will use the work as the way I want to use. No, you cannot. I said you can publish the compilation of poems written by Rabindranath Tagore, but you cannot write your name in the place of name of author, right? There are two moral rights which Indian law recognizes. One is right of attribution, which is also called paternity right, which means let the work be known by my name. Let my work be known by my name. Attribute my work to me. Identify my work by my name. The second is right of integrity. You can use my work, but in the process, you cannot mutilate it or distort it or make such modifications which harm my reputation. So you have to be mindful of these two rights, which are perpetual in nature while using others' work. You cannot write your name in place of name of Rabindranath Tagore. In relation to economic rights, yes, there is no violation of economic rights if the term of copyright has expired. But action for plagiarism can still be initiated. And a very significant difference between the two cases of wrong, that is infringement of copyright and in plagiarism, as I already mentioned. If you are copying somebody's work without taking consent, it is infringement. But if you are copying somebody's work with consent of that person, it does not amount to infringement. So you are free to take extracts from my work if I have consented, or you are free to take extracts from your own earlier work. These are not cases of infringement, but these will still be cases of plagiarism. So the difference between the two concepts on this point is that there is nothing like self-plagiarism in copyright law. Even if you do it with the consent of author of earlier work, even if it is just a copy of your own work, it still amounts to plagiarism. I will skip this part, section 52. There are few points which are relevant here. Let me know how much time do I have. Somebody please. Yes.
Sir, you can continue, sir.
Okay, I'll take some time, maybe 10 minutes,
Yes, sir.
not more than that.
Sure. Okay, sir.
Now we can come to another important part, which is checking plagiarism. Most of us are aware there are softwares which will check plagiarism. You must have heard about Turnitin. You must have heard about Urkund. But first of all, institutions have to be careful about certain copyright end up doing while checking plagiarism. For example, if the university has to check plagiarism of your thesis, university will make a copy of your thesis. Is it not violation of reproduction right? Yes. Can the institution make a copy of your work without taking your permission? No, it cannot. So the institution cannot make an intermediate copy which will be used for, wait a second. Institution cannot make an intermediate copy for the purpose of running it on Urkund or Turnitin so as to check the plagiarism. That would mean violation of reproduction right. Second, when I am sending your work or a copy of your work to my staff, which is operating the software, it may also amount to violation of communication right. So am I not violating copyright? Another example can be what institutions do. Institutions make copy of your work and preserve those copies to be used for checking plagiarism of others' works. Can the institution store a copy of the work? All these questions raise policy questions, policy issues for institutions which is using this software. So therefore, institutions must have a policy of plagiarism which includes aspects of consent, implied consent, express consent. Every institution must have a policy of plagiarism before starting to use these softwares. Let me quickly rush through some of the aspects of the University Grants Commission, promotion of academic integrity, and prevention of plagiarism in higher educational institutions regulations 2018. These are important because these regulations apply to students, faculty members, researchers, and staff of all HEIs, higher educational institutions. It applies to all the scripts, but then there are certain exemptions. These regulations do not apply to assignments, term papers, project reports, coursework, essays, answer scripts. These apply to dissertations. These apply to thesis. These apply to all the articles which you receive to publish. These apply to all books. Each supervisor, PhD supervisor, has to submit a certificate indicating that the work done by the researcher under him or her is plagiarism free. Now, that's a serious responsibility. So you yourself will have to be satisfied that the work is plagiarism free. Regulations provide for creation of DAIP, Departmental Academic Integrity Panel. It also talks about creation of Institutional Academic Integrity Panel. We'll not go into that. The next point is important. When plagiarism check has to be done, the person operating the software has to be very clear about the three things which have to be excluded. You see, I approached the journal for publishing my article, and they said, in your case, the plagiarism is more than 30%. It was 31%. I said, it cannot be possible. I myself have checked it. It is not more than 16 or 17%. They are saying, no, it is more than 31. Because they failed to exempt these content from the work. So before running the work on these softwares, all the quoted work which is reproduced with either permission or attribution, that quoted text has to be excluded. So all the text within quotes which has been attributed in footnote, that has to be excluded from the work before running the work on Urkund or any plagiarism software. Similarly, all the references, bibliography, table of content, preface, acknowledgement, these have to be excluded. Footnotes have to be excluded. All generic terms have to be excluded. Laws have to be excluded. Standard symbols have to be excluded. Standard equations have to be excluded. So if you have reproduced a provision of the legislation, that has to be excluded before running the work on the software. The regulations provide different consequences for different degree of copying. As I already said, you have 4 different levels. Level 0 means similarity up to 10%. That is fine, no penalty. Level 1 is similarity above 10%, less than 40%. In case of faculty members, the faculty member shall be asked to withdraw the manuscript. In case of student, the student shall be asked to revise the script, submit it within an extended period not exceeding 6 months. Level 2 is similarity above 40%, less than 60%. The teacher will be asked to withdraw the manuscript. The teacher will be denied a right to 1 annual increment, and the teacher shall not be allowed to be a supervisor to any master's or PhD scholar for a period of 2 years, in case the similarity is above 40%, less than 60%. And in case of a student, such student shall be debarred from submitting revised script for a period of 1 year. Level 3 is similarities above 60%. The teacher will be asked to withdraw the manuscript. The teacher will be denied right to 2 successive annual increments, and no PhD or MPhil or master's supervision for a period of 3 years. And student, in case of student, the registration of such a student shall be cancelled. It's an extremely high degree of similarity, and this is the highest punishment for a research scholar in case the case is proved. Repeated plagiarism may lead to suspension or termination of the faculty member as per service rules. I was talking about the 2 concepts because the 2 concepts ultimately aim to provide a framework by which academic integrity can be ensured. I know it's a program on intellectual property laws, but I tried to connect plagiarism with copyright. That should help us in understanding the importance of academic integrity. It's an open secret that despite the enactment of regulations, a large number of institutions have yet not started proper implementation. The reluctance on the part of teachers and students is apparent. We have to realize the importance of law of copyright and principles of plagiarism, keeping in view that we are the creators as well as users of the literary works. I would like to conclude by saying that the only way to avoid plagiarism or copyright violation is to know more about the 2 concepts. Thank you very much. And now we may take questions.
Now I request all the participants, if you have any query or questions regarding this session, you can ask. Sir, am I audible to you?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes. There is one
If there are
question.
any.
Yes, sir. So there is one question by Dr. Abhishek regarding plagiarism. It is said that 20% plagiarism is acceptable. What is the meaning of this 20%?
It is not 20%. As you can see, I mentioned in one of the slides that level 0 is similarity up to 10%. So up to 10% it is permissible according to UGC regulations 2018. Many publishers, many institutions which are publishing journals will allow, as part of their policy, will allow you a similarity up to 20%. But not beyond that. Now, what does it mean? It means that your document, a soft copy of your document, will be checked using softwares like Turnitin and Orkun. But before you run the document on one of these softwares, you have to exclude some content which I mentioned. All the quoted text have to be excluded. References, bibliography, etc. has to be excluded. And if you have reproduced law, that has to be excluded. Generic terms have to be excluded. After excluding these, the remaining part of your work will be run on these softwares and then a report will be prepared. So this is what is done. We generally use these two softwares only, either Turnitin or Urkund. My university uses Urkund. So that is what is meant by 20% copying. But yes, the person who is handling the software has to be skilled because he has to exclude the, the things which I mentioned before doing the similarity check for plagiarism, right? Yes,
Okay, sir.
anything else?
So there is another question that how to check the plagiarism procedure? Is there any procedure for checking the plagiarism?
There are softwares which we use to check plagiarism. See, in my university, the central library of my university, BHU, the central library monitors the activities of plagiarism check. So therefore, when the students have, for example, a research scholar who has to submit the PhD work, before submitting, he has to send a copy of his PhD work to the central library, and central library will run it. Central library will run it on the software and give you the report. It has to be less than 10% in case of PhD thesis. The department will vet it, department will approve it, and then the thesis will be submitted. Now, what my university does, it gives an opportunity to the research scholar to exclude the content according to 2018 regulations, so that you send only that part which remains after excluding the exemptions. So that is how we do. And I think any university which has this software will have the notice on the website. That is clear and loud. The guidelines are also there on the website. Yes, there are more questions. Let me read these. Chat box mein to hai.
Yes,
Let me read.
sir, I'm reading it out for you. Sir,
Yes.
can I read it?
Yes, please.
Sir, one question is there. If we are doing reference work and write something in our own way, will that count into plagiarism?
See, I gave you various kinds of plagiarism in which I said that it is possible that your act is still plagiarism even if you cite the source. You don't take word by word. You have to be careful about writing things because you see, as of now, my softwares will not be able to check the similarity in terms of ideas. So that's a practical part. Although definition says that copying idea would also amount to plagiarism, but the softwares which we are using these days are not that equipped to check copying of ideas. By and large, the softwares are checking the language which we are using. So therefore, paraphrasing these days is helping us. But instead of paraphrasing, yes, you cite the sources if you are borrowing the broad theme. And if you are writing in your own language, still you must cite the source. There is nothing bad in citing sources when you are relying on n number of sources. The problem is when you are relying on just two sources to write your full paper, then you will try to hide the sources which you are relying on. But if you are relying on many sources, there is nothing wrong in citing all these sources. Yes, if you have taken word by word, then you must put quotations. If you are not putting those quotes, that means that you are inspired, you are not reproducing. Keep these things in mind. Yes.
So next question is, what is the percentage of plagiarism allowed in law paper?
See, there is, apart from the regulations of 2018, which I referred to, which is good for your PhD thesis, LLM dissertation and all, you have different policy of different journals, which you can check on the website. Some journal, Oxford Journal may ask you to limit to 10%. Some journal may allow you to limit to 20%. So it depends on the policy. But by and large, I don't think a good journal is going to allow you to copy more than 20%. I think that generally is the approach in India, right? But in case
Okay,
of
sir.
PhD and LLM dissertation, 2018 regulations apply. And in that case, you have to be careful. It should not be more than 10%. A certificate has to be signed by the supervisor also. So supervisor also has to be careful, right?
Okay, okay, sir. One question is that a citation is also come in plagiarism?
Citations have to be excluded. I said all the references have to be excluded. So all the citations, all the footnotes have to be excluded. If these are descriptive footnotes, don't exclude those descriptive footnotes. But if these are citations, references, you exclude those citations, references before running your work on Urcon, right? When I see, I was giving you this example. When I approached the journal, they said yours is 33% copied. I said slightly difficult for me to understand because I myself have checked, it is really low. They gave me a copy of the report in which the copied portion was highlighted, and the software highlighted my name also. Because my name was also there on some websites in certain other articles. So I then approached them and said, this is how you are running your software. This is very unfair. So somebody who is operating the software has to be careful as to what all has to be excluded. And exclusions must be done according to 2018 regulations.
Okay,
Anything
sir.
else?
So
How can
one more
I?
question. How can I get the copyright for a book which is written by me?
The moment you write something, you get copyright. There is no need to register. It is automatic. Copyright springs into effect the moment you create the work. Registration is optional. If you want to register it, go ahead, file an application, not a difficult task, you can register it. But that is not required. Even if you don't write that symbol C inside a circle, still copyright belongs to the person who has created the work. So don't worry about it. What you can develop is the moment you finish a work, mail it to yourself so that date is fixed. Because the most difficult thing in case of unregistered works, when it comes to litigation, is to determine the accurate date of creation. That is what people fight for. So I will suggest you to mail a work to yourself the moment you created it, so that date is fixed. You have an evidence. Anything else? There
Yes,
are
sir, one
many.
last question. So one last question. Like
Hmm.
if anyone has published my own ongoing unpublished research article, what ethical activities I can do?
No one is allowed to publish your work, because I said copyright violation takes place even if I borrow extract from some unpublished work. Publication is not a precondition for obtaining copyright. Unpublished work पे भी उतना ही copyright है जितना published work पे. So if it belongs to you, you can start the copyright proceedings. Section 55 gives you remedies, or you can start a criminal proceeding also, section 63. And you can also write to the institution in which that person works, so that the institution can start the procedure of process of plagiarism inquiry. Right?
Okay. Thank you, sir. Now I would like to thank sir for your
Thank you
valuable
very much.
suggestions and information regarding this copyright and plagiarism. All the points have been explained very well, and there is no doubt in this topic. I thank you very much, sir, for your giving us the time and gracing this occasion. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I
Thank you.
request, thank you, sir. Now I request all the participants to kindly go on the Moodle and do the assessment for this session, and please fill the feedback form which is available there. And I want to inform you all once again that tomorrow, that is day 2, session 1, will start at 10 a.m. right? And I need all of you to please join 10 minutes before the session starts. And the topic for tomorrow's session is Law of Copyright Protection of Creative Work in India, and the resource person for tomorrow's session is Dr. Sagar Kumar Jaiswal, Assistant Professor, Guru Ghasi Das Vishwavidyalay, Bilaspur, Chhattisgarh. At last, I would like to thank all the participants for participating in this session. And I would also like to thank Mr. Amrendra and Mr. Ashish for the IT support. Thank you, everyone. Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, Neeta, you are audible.
Okay. All the participants, please go on the Moodle and do the assessment and do fill the feedback form.